Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Maxwell Construction, who has been our sponsor since the very beginning. For over 30 years, Maxwell has delivered the highest quality projects by holding to their core values of customer satisfaction, positive attitude, respect, and excellence. So if you have any kind of commercial construction need, give Maxwell Construction a call today at 812-537-2200.
Welcome to Rock Solid Radio. This is Merrill Hutchinson alongside of my beautiful wife, Linda.
Hi,
Linda, I feel like I shouldn't be invited to the party today.
Why?
Because I feel like you and Becky are like kindred spirits or something, and I'm just being invited. Maybe I'll just be the tech dude.
Well, Becky, welcome. This is Becky Brown, our special guest. And yes, I am so excited about this show. And
I know you've been talking. This is all I've heard, Becky. You've been in my house for the last month.
No.
We got to have Becky. We have to have Becky.
I'm excited too. And Merrill, we'll let you come along for the
I know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
I do feel like I've known Becky for years because I pretty much listen to you. I won't say every day because you're not on the show every day, but every week on a show called New Life Live. And we're going to get to what that is in a little bit. But I am thrilled that you accepted our invitation and I can't wait to get started. So welcome to the show, Becky.
Thank you so much. It's my privilege and I love what you guys are doing. And I just, we can't do enough of this to help people in all the different areas of their life. So I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So, I do feel like I've known you for a long time, but for those that don't know who Becky Brown is and don't know what New Life is, can you tell us a little bit about Becky Brown?
Okay. Well, I was born and raised in Detroit. No, it was literally, I was. And many years ago, been married for, it'll be 40 years next year. We're amazed. That's a miracle in and of itself. 3 kids, adults, 3 grandkids. I mean, we're just doing the thing. I've been a therapist for about 20, almost 30. Well, no, it can't be right. Yeah, about 30 years. And started in private practice, used to listen to New Life Live. And, years ago, New Life was a for-profit. We had clinics all over the country. And I was like, I want to be part of that. I called and I opened one of the New Life clinics in Dayton, Ohio, and had some counselors that worked with me. And then when we went to nonprofit, I was like, I'm a card carrying fan club member and I want to be part of whatever God is doing through New Life. And I've been here ever since, working at workshops and all kinds of different things, just to help people have the transformed life that God offers.
Wow. So you're a licensed professional therapist, right? You have your own practice, or are you full-time with New Life now?
Full-time with New Life. And my boss would tell me that I've got all of those people as my clients, the people I work with, but I disagree. I call them my fabulous coworkers, my Fabcos. And so I'm not working in that capacity anymore, but it certainly has served me in many different aspects of the work that I do.
Wow.
Did you start off with a specialty of sort? Like, was it marriage and family, or was it individual, or?
Both. Actually, my license is for mental health, which is a kind of an umbrella term, but what I worked with mostly were individuals and couples. Didn't work with kids too much because they usually focused on the moms and dads. And, if I can get mom and dad help, then that'll straighten out the rest of the family, hopefully. And then I've done lots of work for the church pro bono, everything from premarital counseling to, individual or crisis therapy as well.
Okay, yeah. So tell us a little bit about New Life Live and New Life Ministries, because we know about it. We are card carry members as well. We're supporters of New Life. But for those that have never heard of it, which I believe is one of the worst kept secrets, like we really need to get the word out. Tell us a little bit about this nonprofit ministry.
Agree. New Life began 35 years ago. We are celebrating 35 years of ministry as Steve Arterburn, our founder and chairman, and our main host of New Life Live, he had a vision. It's hard to think about this now because mental health is in the conversation and it is in the church and it is, we're talking about it. But 35 years ago, that was not the case, especially in the Christian world. And Steve had a burden to bring Christian help into psychiatric wards in hospitals. And, the world was different back then. So now we just assume everybody's got that going on. But it was really an incredible thing that he did and then they found out that the Christian tracks that were in these hospitals were doing better than some of the others. And they wanted to know, what was that about? How did that happen? So it started all those years ago. And then we opened up clinics all across the country where people would have Christian counseling in their area. And again, that was not a normal thing. It's very normal now. It was very unheard of. Actually, when I was in grad school, I remember having a professor who asked the class, we were in a theory class, and she was like, back then everybody had to ascribe to a certain theoretical orientation. You were going to be Jungian or everything. You're going to do something. And I thought, and she said, do not say eclectic. Like, she wouldn't even let us go there.
The only one I was comfortable with.
I know, but they weren't okay with that. And I thought at that moment, I would be with the Christian therapists. If we're at a CEU conference and everybody goes into corners, I'm going to be with the people who know that Jesus is the source of our hope. There are a lot of avenues that we can help people with theoretical structure and practices. But at the end of all of it is the saving grace of Jesus. And so integrating that was foundational to New Life. And then years later, we sold it off and became nonprofit. We've been doing workshops. We have a counselor network across the country. We began a coaching network last year because life coaching is a new thing, and we're helping lots of people. And we have a radio program that's on. Now it's on all the time because of this internet thing and podcasts, all the things. And so we're just continuing to help people through all different ways. And it's amazing to hear the testimonies as well.
Yeah. When I was working on my master's in counseling, there was this fork in the road where I had to decide whether I was going into the licensure track or the pastoral track. And I really had a real huge spiritual battle there of like, ethically, I really didn't know if I could separate the two. And so for me at the time, and that was decades ago, was really the pastoral track, because I did not want to forego God and his word. I believe that, and New Life does as well, that's the transformational power behind life change, right?
Yes. One of my favorite classes was actually in undergrad. I went to a Christian university, but it was psychological and biblical integration. That was the name. I was a psych undergrad, but that was so mind-blowing to me because we weren't talking like we are now. And so you're right. You're faced with, how do I offer people help with just a clinical approach when I know that scripture, that the Spirit of God working in this whole entire thing will make a difference in their lives. And so I love that spirit, Linda. That's why Merrill, that's why we're so
well. I mean, but Becky, that's actually my background. So I was actually trained up a long time ago in counseling. My master's is in counseling, but it was in the school side, and it was in public education. And that was my frustration. That, and especially, not only did you have to partake in all of the regular community counseling ethics, but then the school umbrella over top of that of the public school. And it just got to be so frustrating. And, that was really, I think that's all part of the growth process though, too, when you start to see how inadequate something is because it's missing a foundational piece. And when I'm sitting there dealing with parents and kids in a class setting that are falling apart, and I'm going, what we're missing here is just some good foundational principle of Dad, you need to be in the home, Mom, you need to be, and that whole idea, like, and so like we've talked many times, when you're first learning a lot of this stuff, you're so of the world, you don't like always know how of the world you are. You're like, oh, well, that couple's divorced or that couple's living together. And so in the public school setting, I was getting to see all of that. And then here I am in my mid 30s and I'm going, oh, so that's why that hurts. That's why it's called sin. It's not called sin because somebody said you were a bad boy. It's called sin because it hurts people.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you know, it's interesting that you say that, Merrill. My daughters are both school teachers. One's in a private school. One teaches online, actually. And then my son-in-law is also a teacher. And he's in person, also a basketball coach. So they are in the thick of it. Right. And with the recent shooting just the other day, there's a move to certainty about what needs to happen. And what you just described is actually what needs to happen.
Mhm.
There is this complicated thing called life where it does make a difference with intact families. It does make a difference when we are teaching the kids how to see other people as people and humans, and
Right.
to
Yeah.
love them with the love of Christ.
Right.
Yes, there are bigger issues, but it is so complex that we have moved so far
Mhm.
from just that whole structure of what God intended for us to have in our lives. And boy, our school teachers, I don't care if they're public, private, we've just got to be praying,
Yeah.
because they do see all of this.
Yeah.
And you can feel helpless. And I'm sure you did, Merrill, in those days, that you'd send these kids home knowing that it was just going to be a struggle. And we really need to equip people to do family.
Yeah. Well, and then you are held with the responsibility of trying to help these people, but then you, by the definition of the state or governing
Separation of
authority,
church and state,
you
yeah.
are having to affirm behaviors that you go, that's not a
totally
good
agree with you.
behavior to
Yeah.
affirm,
Yeah.
you
Right,
know?
exactly.
And so you're called to affirm that, and that's where the conflict. And so I actually get very upset when there's a lot of public school bashing, because I think, in our area, we're a slightly rural suburban area. Our public schools are fantastic.
Mhm.
They really are.
My kids went to public school, and I said the same exact thing. It was small. I knew the teachers. Everybody was going to school together. It was a community
Yeah.
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 of people who served each other, literally.
Yeah.
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 But even now, those schools are being pushed to having to affirm because of maybe a harder push
Federal
at the,
law
at the
or-
Indianapolis
yeah, yeah.
level, or the
Yeah.
Columbus level, or
Yeah.
the big state level, or the federal
Yeah.
levels. And so even out in our smaller communities, which was that good neighborhood school, they're having to affirm things that,
Right.
we're going, that's not good for families. That's not
Yeah.
good for kids. It's not good.
So anyway, we both come from the school and the church world, 35
See,
years
she
each.
cut me off. Did you see that?
No,
She cut me
we
off.
got a lot to talk about. But no, the whole idea is that we see the need for God and his word involved in what we do and helping families and individuals and couples. And so you and I talked about, we could go on a humongous different direction and in so many different ways, but you and I kind of boiled down to something important that we believe that we need to talk about that could help families today. And that was the whole idea of attachment. Tell me a little bit about why you felt like attachment was so important.
Well, the main reason is because I've seen dramatic impact of how, when people understand their attachment style, it impacts every relationship they have, not just spousal. I mean, literally work relationship. It's just about how you move about in the world. And, it began years ago. John Bowlby, obviously father of attachment theory, but back then we didn't really comprehend what he was talking about. And of course, I've worked very closely with Milan and Kate Yurkovich, authors of How We Love, have worked many workshops, traveled the world with them actually, and have sat under their teaching. But it's been so amazing. When we do like a marriage workshop, we're teaching couples that it's their histories that are colliding. That it's not because the car ran out of gas and the bill didn't get paid or the kid forgot his lunch. It's none of that. Those are the prompters.
Yeah.
But the reaction is coming from inside. And the one pivotal question that attachment theory starts with is, what are your first memories of being comforted? And, usually when we ask that question, a hush just comes over the room, because you don't think about that. Like, it's just not. I mean, some people have really horrific childhoods and there are memories that they remember, bad memories. But to ask, do you have a memory of being comforted? What's your earliest memory of comfort? And I mean, how does that even hit you guys when you hear that question? Have you thought about that before?
Yeah.
Well, we've done How We Love, so.
Yeah. Well, we're so fortunate, and from a very, very young age, I felt comfort within my family. Like, I remember even at a very young age, middle school, definitely by high school, saying, my home is safe. And my dad was a rough and tumble guy. My mom was we had 5 kids, but home was a very safe place always. And it was protected that way. And so even as I'm a teenager, I'm going, No, like everybody, all my friends are complaining about, their parents and everything. And I'm like, well, no, like my home's a pretty good place. This is a good. And so from a very early age, and that doesn't mean they've been perfect and all that stuff, right? It just means like that was something that I've always connected to.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. And the interesting thing is the fact that you can recognize it wasn't perfect. There are a lot of people that even within a disrupted family, and that can describe a lot of different things. It doesn't even have to be chaotic, where there's, slamming doors, throwing, plates and all that kind of stuff. But it could be, the disconnection, that mom and dad, it's interesting because in my generation, the generation before me are, the Depression era. My parents are still alive. My dad's 90, mom is almost 89. She's counting the days. But, they weren't taught, feelings weren't a language that they were taught. And they had experienced a lot of trauma just by being alive. I mean, you think about life back then.
Chips, yeah.
But as we come forward, so they didn't know, I had a great home too, same thing. But the challenges were you only know what you know.
Right.
And so when then we begin to have kids and all this stuff starts to boil up inside of you, you don't know, you just think, what is happening here? And many times we don't see it. This is specific to attachment styles. We don't recognize the reactions we're having are based not on what's in front of us, but it's what came from behind. It's kind of what I describe, and this is very simplistic, but it's like, it's the difference between if you are well rested, you got a full stomach and you're feeling pretty good, and a car cuts you off, you're gonna be okay with that. But let me tell you, if you were running late and you forgot this, and then you're in the car and somebody does that, your reaction is going to be completely different. That's a very simplistic way of understanding how attachment styles make a difference. Understanding them, knowing yourself well, will make all the difference in your relationships.
And we have 5 children, and our 2 older children. But then we adopted 3 younger children from the foster care system. And so not growing up in that, and then now having 3 children in our home who did experience that healthy attachment at a very young age, you see the repercussions of that. They don't understand where it came from or why, but we do. We understand, and as much as we can, but we're not in their shoes, but the feelings of neglect and feeling of abandonment and feeling of, feeling all alone. And that's hard as they grow up. Now they're teenagers, right? And so it's like,
and each of them carries it differently.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though they were all raised in the same home by the same parents, but each of the 3 that we have in our home have manifested different ways. And you're going, what? And so even though we laugh, we're like, we need to go get help for this because this is what we do for a living. Right. But it's like, well, this is a puzzle we're struggling with, especially if that's not our background, like in terms of,
what we said. Yeah. So you see in a lot of your work, individuals and couples and families that are calling in and like they're seeing the kind of the after effects of poor attachment or lack of attachment, right?
Right. Well, matter of fact, 2 things. Merrill, to your point, the kids don't grow up in the same home and don't have the same parents, because with every child, the dynamic changes. Right. You change. You're older, wiser. You've learned a few things, but the dynamics change. And so, if we can move to that place of being present, okay, what am I feeling? What am I thinking? What am I seeing? Helping them to learn how to express their insides. As a quote from Milan, he always says, if we can help people describe their insides, that's where those true connections can happen. And for kids like the new kids that are, kind of bringing into a different system, teaching all of us those soul words. How do I, the question he says is, give me 3 feeling words for your day today. Not how are you? How was your day? Because they're going to say fine, because they don't know how to describe what they're feeling inside. And you can do something with those feeling words. And it's really powerful. But the other thing that Henry Cloud just said this yesterday, he said, we're born, infants are born with a complete trust of whoever catches them.
Mhm.
It's just, they come into the world like that, and they know that they will be provided for. And they can make all kinds of noise, and they can, but slowly over time that gets disrupted. And that's where the healing has to occur. And if the person doesn't understand how that's happening, what happens, which is what we see in couples all the time, it's the other person's fault. If they would be, and you can fill in the blank, then I would be happier. I would be at ease.
Right.
And we know that that's simply not true. I mean, there's parts of that that's true, but you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and we could be here all day of just talking about the depths of attachment, but there are so many great resources out there, Becky. Give us our listeners, because some of them this is all new to them. Henry Cloud, they've never heard of before. Mylan and Kay, they've never heard of before. So give us some resources of next steps that people can take to really learn more about attachment. And because it does have everything to do with how you relate to your spouse, how you relate to your parents, how you relate to your children, how you relate to your boss, how you relate to God, how you relate to yourself, right?
One of the best first steps that I would encourage anybody is to look at howwelove.com. They have a little simple assessment. You can take it. It doesn't cost you anything. And, you'll get the answer right there, because they're not asking you for your firstborn. But I think so many times, if we can just start with us, especially in parenting, we really want our kids to be better, different, well-behaved, all of that kind of stuff. But it's like, okay, what am I bringing to the table? What am I doing? So howwelove.com will get you that start, but also begin to get curious about your own reactions. What we don't realize many times is that we are the ones that may be disrupting what's actually happening in the connection. I mean, how many times have you ever, maybe Linda, you've been deep in thought about something. Merrill comes home and he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And you're just like, "Wait a minute." Like you're not on the same page with them, right? And so when we learn about ourselves, learn about your attachment style. One thing in particular that surprised me is that I tested high as a pleaser when I originally did this, because people who know me know that's not always the case. But the way that Mylan explained it to me, and he did this in many of his lectures, were about the fact that pleasers feel that anxiety inside. And they please because they want everybody, if everybody else is okay, then they're okay. Now that makes sense. But there's a lot of control that comes with that. Like, I want you to be what I want you to be so I can feel better.
Right.
Now you can see how that relates to parenting. If they will all just go to bed on time, and if they all won't whine, then I will feel better. But the reality is it's not likely. So what can I do to get calm inside of me so that I can respond to the needs of my family or respond to the needs of my spouse? So that obviously I would say How We Love. And of course I'd say, one of our workshops, we get tons of them. But we teach people, how to understand what is going on inside of you, because attachment really does start with us. And to move towards that secure attachment, we've heard about love languages, and lots of people use that, and it's good. However, Jesus was multilingual, and he was very secure in his attachment. That's straight from Mylan. And we have to move towards understanding that it's going to be difficult at times. But as we learn about attachment, learn about our styles, learn those soul words, having a full range of emotional vocabulary to describe how we feel is pretty powerful. And to own how you feel, as opposed to being other directed, that you need to be fill in the blank so that I can feel whatever.
Or projecting how you're feeling onto somebody else and making it their problem and their fault.
Yeah. The other key tool that I think can make a huge difference is the comfort circle dialogue that they provide in How We Love. Some people call it the discomfort circle.
It's not easy.
But what I've learned over time, and they have taught the fact that you don't have to have it that structured forever, but once you learn the rhythm, you begin to have better conversations with the people that you love, because you're not looking for a quick answer.
Right.
And secure attachment means that I feel solid in my body, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally.
Yeah.
And on a good day, we might have 5 minutes of that. I mean, to be true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I teach the comfort circle a lot, especially to those couples that have maybe been married for years and years and years, and they've kind of just gotten really lazy, or they've just drifted, and they really think they know everything about each other. And one or more of the spouses are feeling like, you don't even hear me. You don't even understand or care.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so to spend that time. So yes, what we're talking about is howwelove.com, or How We Love, the book and workbook by Mylan and Kay Yurkovich. Love them. We've done that together.
Mm-hmm.
And the Intimacy and Marriage Workshop, which we were hoping to get into Mylan and Kay's last one in February. And we have a high schooler who still has conference and stuff, so we didn't make it this time. But we're hoping to still get to one. But they're all over the country, different times. I think the next one's in the summer, isn't it?
Yeah, we're going to be in DC
DC.
in July. We have great presenters that are going to step into Mylan and Kay's big shoes, who have been practicing this. Attachment styles, not just Mylan and Kay's work, but in every level, people are understanding more and more about the need for our own care, our own healing, our own recovery, so that we don't just identify, this is just my style and I'm always going to be that way. It's so much better to move towards secure attachment. And that's really the growth pattern, right? It's, that we're always going to have, there's always going to be that part of me that will have that pleaser, but I'm not driven by it. It doesn't govern my relationships. And boy, it's made a whole huge difference.
So while we're on the subject of resources, I don't want to go any further without mentioning Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend's book, Boundaries, which I know you guys talk a lot about on New Life, and you have them on a lot. And so, that's a great resource to know what's in your yard, what's your responsibility. I was checking out a little bit of the recent show when he was talking about the gate and the yard and the garbage. I talk about that all the time.
It's like boundary basics.
Yes, yes. And so there's also How We Love Our Kids, which I have and give away a lot. So how we relate to our kids and how we love our kids the way they need to be loved.
Now, a couple other things that may surprise you that I think are solid resources for, just a godly life and healthy living is our Life Recovery Bible and any of our Life Recovery products. Now, people tend to say, well, I'm not addicted to anything. I don't really need recovery. But what we know for sure is the integration of the 12 steps into scripture and just the godly path that it creates. It's a path and a process, everything from what am I not surrendering to, because every day we're called to surrender, but many of us are real die hard on whatever soapbox we're on for the day.
Right.
And how do we let go, and how do we ask for the wisdom that we need? And there are a lot of things that can help people through the process of life recovery. We have life recovery groups all over the country that they're free, they're online, they're in person. And, we just help people to get into that process so that they can live the life that God created for them to have.
Yeah. Yeah. We kind of touched on this a little bit, Becky, but what role does God play in your personal life, your family life, your professional life? Where does God fit in that?
Oh man, the simple question is Jesus. Any answer to any question in Sunday school is Jesus, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's been part of my life. As I mentioned, I grew up in the church, but what I know for sure after working all these years with people in so many different situations, the gospel is the good news, and the truth is God's truth. It isn't some other fact or, idea. It has stood the test of time. I think that we have complicated it over, people, we just tend to do that. Matter of fact, you look in the Gospels, Jesus had the hardest time with the religious leaders. I mean, he just could not get them to let go of their idea. And we have to challenge ourselves. One of my favorite sayings, I'm quoting a rapper. Okay. So it's actually,
wow. I want to hear, let me write it down.
is check yourself before you wreck yourself. And so when you think about how, when I think about how God has changed me from the inside out, I'm grateful for his grace. I'm grateful for his word. It his foundation for everything that I do. And yet at the same time, I'm not trying to choke anybody with it. When I started into practice many years ago, the local newspaper actually interviewed me, and they were like, Christian counseling, what is that? What is that about? And I said, I'm not trying to save anybody. That's not what I'm doing. But I know that I'm offering them hope in a place where they can truly find it. And so I serve in my local church. I love how God can change lives. And I've been privileged to be on the front line to see dramatic changes, and only God can do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It is so awesome. I mean, I think we're 5 years into our Just Rock Solid Families ministry. We've been doing the counseling and coaching thing for many years, but the idea of, we've said the same thing. I say it in just about every session. What does faith-based mean to us? Well, we're not a church, so my job is not here to baptize you. Okay. That's not my job right here. My job is to get you to understand, foundation of God's word, so like this is, I always say, part of our task here is we're going to get you and me and everybody in this session to check our opinions at the door. Because our opinions, we oftentimes fool ourselves into thinking that our opinions are fact, when in fact they are not.
Usually they got us into trouble.
And so, as you talked about before, the idea, I'm going to go to the most time and tested truth that I can get to. And God's word is that. And so if I want to see how a marriage should function, how a man should be, how a woman should be, let's go to God's words first. And I think that's been just so humbling. That even to the people who come in and they're all kind of headstrong on their way, you're like, well, how's that working for you?
Well, do you know one of the most, going back to the attachment theory, just on that, if you've got somebody that's coming in all puffed up, the first thought you should have is, what happened to you?
Yeah, it is.
Where did you put that armor on?
Yeah.
And literally, because something is beyond that. That's what they're presenting.
Yeah.
But that's not the whole story.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, and I see it with men, I talk all the time, so you mentioned some things before that we could have a whole nother show on, and the whole idea of talking feelings, like, well, you don't function well, especially in early sessions, saying, tell me how you feel, Mr. 6'5". There's no vocabulary. So you really don't, I don't open the door to tell me about your feelings. We first off go and start talking about who they are, and you'll see quickly. Some men have the armor of money or of muscles,
big shiny
or
truck,
of power, or of their truck, or whatever. And that's when I go, so what are you afraid of? So what's going on there? Well, what do you mean? And that's the mask. But it is really cool because once you can start to say, listen, hey, I have the same challenge. We've all had that challenge. All right. And then you start to see these big 6'5" guys start to just melt, like, man, you don't even know. And so, and then the feelings start to leak. Feelings start to leak out of their body,
through tears.
In a profound way.
Yeah.
We have, we have our Every Man's Battle workshop. We're actually we're doing one this weekend. And one of the things that the men experience is that no shame zone. We greet you, and I mean, it's all men, and they're shocked that, it's just like the passage where the man or the woman at the well says, I told him everything.
Yeah.
Yes. And see, and that's what they experience, because we get it. We know what's beyond, and what has brought them to that workshop, sexual integrity challenges. And that's a number of different things. And, porn use is through the roof. I mean, it's just crazy.
Mm.
Affairs, there's just all kinds of things that bring them, and that shame has weighed them down to the point where most of them will wait to the very last, like they're on the worst situation.
Yeah.
Maybe losing their marriage, maybe losing their job, just all, maybe incarceration. I mean, it literally to that extreme.
Yeah.
And we say, we see you.
Yeah.
You got it. We
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
And that's where, if we can help people understand a vocabulary of feelings, we're going to unleash this whole world for them.
And taking example, somebody with sexual integrity issues, mostly we see it's women too, but a lot of men, especially Every Man's Battle. I compare it to Velcro that's kind of lost its stickiness. And a lot of times it's because of an early wounding, right? Where they have lost that stickiness to a parent or a family. And then because of that, they don't know how to get it back. They can't attach, they can't stick to anything. And so it doesn't even have feelings to it anymore. And so to get back to that woundedness and get rid of that shame that's been weighing them down so much. And so again, Every Man's Battle is another resource, a workshop, the book. I love them both. I love when they do it online, so you could be anywhere in the country. And so that's another resource. So, that's what I love about New Life, is that they believe that God is the transformational power, that he is the one that makes the difference. He is the one that's going to make the changes. And so that's what we believe at Rock Solid. That's why you left 32 years of the public schools. That's why I stepped down from the church. And again, not to say anything bad about the local church, but to focus, to heal and to focus on that. So that's why we're a part of Club New Life as well. So
I love that. Our three foundational values for New Life are truth, true truth, God's truth, connection, because we totally believe that that's how God works, and also redemptive relationships with that connection, and transformation, because we think those three things, truth, connection, and transformation, make all the difference. And in our workshops, you're just not going to listen to a lecture. You're going to be in a small group, and people usually go, I don't know about that group part.
Yeah.
And it is, the marriage groups are my favorite. I mean, because there's not a lot of places where you can have couples in a group processing, things, but time and time again. And one particular couple said of a workshop we did last year, he said, I was kind of iffy about, like, I don't want to hear other people's problems. Like, what is that about? And he said, but what I realized, it was kind of like when you go into a movie theater and you're watching a story and the story ministers to you. Like, you're like, oh yeah, he says, I'm listening to somebody else's story and I'm like, oh, I see me in the story. And I thought, well, that's how God works. It's through the narrative, and we love it. We love it.
Sure. Yeah. So how can people get a hold of you or New Life? What's the best ways to connect?
Well, we always say our number, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, or 1-800-639-5433. I said
I only knew 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Yeah, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And then also we're on, we have New Life Live, which you can hear whether it's a local radio or a podcast, or we have a free app that you can download and wherever you get your apps. Newlife.com also has a lot of great resources as well. And at any of those places, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, you can reach me. You just say, hey, I want to talk to Becky.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Are you sure you want to say that, Becky?
I say it that people know.
And you too, Becky, you always say, I love our YouTube family, because I watch.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
I love our YouTube family because that's where I watch most of the time. If I'm not on the show, then I'm watching on YouTube. And it's so amazing to me, because I've been part of New Life for over 20 years now. And the fact that God has kept us this long, and we hear from people during the pandemic, it was like, oh, what are we going to do? Everybody was like, what are we going to do? Right. But in the workshops, we moved to an online format, and we were like, how is that going to work? Well, God showed up, and we actually had couples from Japan. Wow. We had couples from Belgium. We had couples from
open the door,
Bahamas. Yeah. They could, and there's no other way. The couple from Japan, this is really funny, because the time difference is a little bit much.
A little bit. 12 hours, I think, isn't it?
Yes. And so when we started, it was probably like 11 p.m. for them, and they went through the night. And I thought, how powerful is that? That they took advantage. And that's what I want to encourage everybody. The hardest part is the first step, the first phone call. And I heard on a podcast, I listen to podcasts, Merrill, like you were saying before I do. And one of the hosts said something about, we say to people, you just need to ask for help. You just need to ask for help.
Mm.
Many of us judge our own need for help. We say, I should be able to figure this out. I should not have to ask. I'm ashamed to ask anybody for any help that I might need. And then we just don't. And so I want to say to anybody who's listening, it's okay to just ask.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're going to do anything with it, because we hear that a lot. People
Right.
will tell people all the time, you might need to do this, you might need to do, and they don't. But just ask, get curious about what might need to take place in your life to have a better relationship, whether it is a marriage relationship, it might be a coworker, neighbor, kids. I mean, it just takes one little step at a time, but it can feel so heavy to just pick that phone up.
I would challenge every person that's listening to go to newlife.com and to check out the show. It is a call-in radio program, call-in podcast that, you record, and so you can listen to it anywhere. I usually don't listen to it live, but, and you, just like you said about watching the movie and relating to the story, every day I listen, I am listening to people calling in with their stories and their questions, and I learn something every day. As a matter of fact, through coaching, we do, faith-based coaching. I'm constantly thinking, okay, how would I help that client, even if it's not for me personally?
Yeah, you guys make for a good training vessel for us.
I say it all the time, group supervision.
Yes, exactly. And so I just cannot tell you how blessed we have been in our family, and how many people. Actually, I learned about New Life from a client who was an avid listener. And so I'm really thankful that she led me to New Life and that we've gotten connected. And Becky, I can't tell you how thankful I am for you and just what you do every day.
Oh, thanks. It is my privilege. I mean, literally cannot believe that God has brought me here. I mentioned briefly that I was born in Detroit, raised in southeastern Michigan. My folks are still there. And actually on this day when we're recording, 40 years ago today, I discovered, my brother, second oldest brother, was murdered. And so the impact of what God has done in my family all these years of the healing process has been foundational. There's 5 of us too. Merrill, you mentioned you had 5 in your family. We had 5. I'm the youngest. And I was home with my parents when that knock on the door came in the middle of the night. But what I have seen God do over these decades of healing, our family is close. We've carried each other's burdens over these years, but it's because my parents never wavered from God will heal this. God will do something with this. And it's just a miracle. It is a miracle. So I say that not to just drain everybody, because I know it's a lot to say, but at the same time, whatever you're facing, God is able to do more than you can ask or imagine. And one of the verses that I've been really kind of marinating, I know it's a weird thing to say, but over the last couple months, is Colossians 3:15. Let the peace of Christ rule in your heart, because you're part of one body, and be thankful.
Yeah.
And I was telling somebody about that the other day, and they said, it's interesting. If peace isn't ruling in your heart, what is ruling in your heart?
Because there's something ruling there.
Something is ruling. And so when we talk about attachment styles, or we talk about crises or trauma, something will rule your heart. And as believers, we have to get focused on allowing Christ to rule in our hearts. And that's through prayer, connection, reading the word, serving. It's all of those pieces. So,
Well, my life verse is Ephesians 3:20 and 21, which you just kind of described, because it says, now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we could ask or imagine, because it's his power at work in us, but he gets all the glory. And so, as you're talking about, God's just getting started. He wants good things for you. He's not, he's not a buzzkill. He's not a hater. He loves you. He's been fighting for you, and he wants a relationship with you. He wants you to attach to him first so that you can have healthy relationships with others, right? Yes. And so we believe, as Christ followers and as help in the helping profession, that we don't have a magic pill or a secret formula, but we know that God and his word can transform your life.
amen. And I've seen it many times, and I'm so grateful
Yeah.
when I get to see it up close. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Becky, thank you so much. I don't know, Merrill, do you have anything I forgot to?
Oh, we could open up a whole new
Maybe we should have
new
a call-in
line.
show.
No, we
Yeah.
could go down so many different directions. And I really just appreciate, Becky, your approach to things and just New Life and what you guys are doing. I think part of our big challenge is it's very, relatively speaking, it's easy to get women into help. Relatively speaking, it is so difficult to get the strength of our culture, the men. When I say strength, I'm actually seeing a lot of weakness, but the strength in terms of what could potentially be there to change the culture, to change the family. And so that's one of the challenges here that I see. Even even so many different things that are written in female language. Like when we talk about attachment styles, when we talk about how we love, right away my guys glaze over. And so part of our challenge here and the work that I see is how do I hear so much of what we're talking about and put it into construction man language, okay? And
I love that.
well, and I say that because these are good guys.
Yeah.
These are good guys. These are the salt of the earth guys. These are the guys that want to do well, right? But they've all had security wrecks.
Right.
We never learned how.
And they never learned how. But
Yeah.
if we don't go after these guys, right, then we're going to continue to dig ourselves into this hole. And so it's just a lot of processing here of how we actually go to that route.
Well, and Merrill, Steve Artburn says all the time, men become men in the company of men.
Yeah.
And I actually, one of our pastors called me the other day and talking about one of our church folks, not a member or whatever, somebody that goes to church there that is really struggling as a man. And he's like, what book, what would you recommend? And I go, well, he needs to be with other men. You guys need to have coffee, go to men's breakfast. You don't have to have a Bible study to start with.
Right.
You just need to be seen and heard. And here's the challenge. Don't try to settle things. Politics is the thing that people will go to because they think they know everything. None of us know anything. You know what I mean? But we get into these kind of conversations that really aren't the heart of things. And so, you're right, though, Merrill, that it's hard for men to really relate in that level. But we had a caller yesterday on the program, and it was a man who called in, and he was like, look, he was just flat out, look, I do not want to be with, women. It's been too difficult. My mother's a problem. He was just flat out, that's it.
Sworn up.
And it was funny because I'm on with Dr. Henry Cloud and Chris Williams. And obviously I'm like, well, okay, guys, go for it, because I can't speak to that at the level that he wants to hear it. And it's such a powerful interchange. And I would say that both Henry Cloud and John Townsend both have great resources that speak in a man's language, not exclusive to women, but it's literally, it's one of those kind of even his new book, Trust, he has a roadmap and he talks about the steps of getting to that place where you can restore trust. So it is a problem, but we can begin to work towards a solution.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Very good.
Well, hey, Becky, we're going to have to wrap up. Like I said, we could be here all day. Maybe we should just do lunch sometime.
Oh, I would love that.
We'll meet in the middle. So
We can meet in the middle, yeah. Or I don't know if I'm invited. I don't know.
Yes, Merrill, come on. You can do it.
All right.
yeah. But anyway, we want to thank. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So we want to thank you, Becky, and we want to thank our listeners for listening to Rock Solid Radio. If this is kind of hit a nerve, we mentioned newlife.com. We mentioned 1-800-NEW-LIFE. They have a huge list of resources of licensed therapists, coaches, or call us. Call us at Rock Solid Families, or get a hold of us at rocksolidfamilies.org, or you can reach us at 1-800-576
rock.
I was having a brain fart
I was
there.
watching your mind go. I was like, she's getting ready to lose it.
Yeah, no, but so much for being on our show, Becky, and thank you guys for listening to Rock Solid Radio, building a stronger community, one family at a time. Make it a great day.
Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions. Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. They offer a wide selection of high-quality plants, landscaping materials, and home decor. They do amazing high-quality work and can help you transform your indoor and outdoor living spaces into something beautiful. So stop by Casey's Outdoor Solutions today and let them know you appreciate their support for Rock Solid Radio. Visit Casey's today at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana.